You know what they threatened me with? I can't even go through the threats and the inducements Thursday, and I'll just let the swamp be the swamp on that. But they threatened me with remote voting. Our leadership, Kevin McCarthy, said, Massie, here's the plan tomorrow. If you insist on a recorded vote, instead of voting on this bill, she's going to have a vote on remote voting, and we don't want that. And my first instinct is, if Kevin McCarthy doesn't want it, I probably do. And as I run through this, I understand very well why Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi don't want remote voting. That was a fake threat to me, as if I didn't want remote voting. Look, remote voting is much better than not voting at all if you're Congress, right? And this is different from mail-in ballots, because we're not voting anonymously. We're voting on the record, and there's no chance.
And it's a finite number of people. It's not like you can cheat.
435. Yeah. So, anyways, they threatened me. Our Republican leadership said she's going to do remote voting, and I was like, "Well, throw me in that briar patch." And it turns out,
isn't remote voting actually better? Could you explain to the audience why it would actually work out better?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi don't want it. Number one, you can't twist somebody's arm effectively through a phone line. You know, when they're surrounded by their loved ones, their family, their friends, their trusted advisors, and they get a call from some jackwagon in Washington, D.C. trying to tell them you need to change your vote, it's not going to work. By the way, on the floor of the House, people walk up to you and whisper in your ear, you know, this is going to cost you your election, or the NRCC is not going to back you if you vote for this, or or
we're going to put up a Never Trumper against you,
yes, in my case,
and have Trump endorse the Never Trumper.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, a whole litany of things. Or we're going to take your committee assignment. They can't do that on a telephone because you could record it. Okay? And so, number one, it's hard for them to do the arm twisting over the phone. Number two, if you were remote voting, if you're a congressman, and it's easy as pressing *1 for yay and *2 for nay, okay? What's their rationale for ever having a voice vote? If it's that easy to register your vote, how would you do a voice vote on the phone? Would you teleconference? Would you call everybody up and say, all in favor, aye, all opposed, no, register that on your phone? Well, as soon as you register it on your phone, there's a record. And so they don't want a record. And that's why they don't want remote voting. They also don't want remote voting because they can't twist your arm when you're not there. So those are a couple reasons that I can see why they don't want remote voting.
That, you know, I've been really pounding the pavement for 2 weeks on this point now. That, look, I don't care what you are, a liberal, a conservative, a this, a that. We have the most consequential decisions being made that intersect with every aspect of our life. If you're a legislator, federal or local or state, this is the Super Bowl. It's like saying, I'm going to talk trash on the cable sports shows, but then I won't even get on the field to play in the Super Bowl. Like, this is it. If you're not going to show up to work, then resign. But what we have now is literally rule by the rulers of the country are every random governor and mayor or county executive, and then Fauci and Birx. That's and Jared Kushner, and whatever, and Mnuchin, and whatever other Democrat, Hillary Clinton globalist. I mean, literally. I mean, Mnuchin's a Democrat. Kushner was a Democrat. Fauci is was brought to tears by Hillary Clinton's speech. I mean, this is who's run. I mean, it's Orwellian. I mean, I can't be more pro-Trump than he is himself. That's part of the problem here. And they're ruling everything. So you need a legislative body to say, like, okay, like, dude, you could totally declare martial law. Like the Secretary of Defense Esper is talking about using the National Guard to enforce the house arrest while letting out criminals and then not arresting ones that break into the stores that are forcibly shut. So like, hey, maybe when we want to convene a legislature and vote on some of this stuff and like there's a lot of important decisions to be made. And yet they're basically using it as an excuse to say, look, we're going to die if we step out of our homes because we're all at risk. And, oh, my gosh, what are we going to do?
By the way, there's a third reason.
This is very dangerous.
There's a third reason they don't want you to vote remotely. When you walk onto the floor, when you walk through those doors into the House chamber, Your staff is not allowed to come with you. But the leadership, each of them has staff with them. And if you're a committee chairman, you are allowed to bring a staffer on the floor. Now, these bills are big and complicated, and members have they're dealing with constituents, they're going to fundraisers, and they rely on their staff. I mean, I rely on my staff tremendously.
Of course, and you're one of the smartest guys. You look through it. You're a good listener. We talk a lot together about stuff, but I'll be honest with you. I knew, just broadly speaking, this was a pile of garbage, but I myself had no grasp on really being able to take apart the specifics because it happened so quickly. And I literally do this for a living. I sit in my home like a hermit and study this stuff and put it out. I mean, if you're a member of Congress, you didn't even have time to see it.
So what happens? Let me just finish this last thought, pursuant to what you just said. When you walk on the floor and you don't have that staffer with you, it's like leaving your smartphone, right? You immediately become more stupid, or at least easily misled. And now you walk onto the floor and the leadership tells you, well, this is in the bill and this is what the bill does. And you turn to ask your staffer, is that really in the bill? Is that what the bill does? Well, your staffer's not there. And they love that advantage on the floor. It makes them seem smarter. It gives them more control. Imagine you went into a courtroom without a lawyer. Okay.
Exactly.
And the other side had a lawyer.
Lie.
Right.
And they straight up lie. They will tell conservative members like, oh no, this addresses that. It doesn't really do. They totally lie.
You know what I tell freshmen when they first get elected and they come to the House of Representatives? I'd ask them, do you know the difference between a used car salesman and a member of the whip team? And they look at me with a blank stare and they have no idea what I'm talking about. And I said, the used car salesman knows when he's telling you a lie. The whip team just believes whatever the leadership tells them. They've never even read the bill. So they don't even know when they're lying to you. So you can't even get mad at the whip team. I mean, it's just their lack of diligence. Yes, thanks for laughing. That was a joke. But it's a true, had remote voting for congressmen. They could be in the presence of their staff. And in other words, they could have their lawyer with them and they wouldn't be separated from them in the instant when the vote happens, because so many votes get changed in that 5-minute period or that 15-minute period when the vote actually happens, because leadership comes up and says, oh, you're making a mistake, blah, blah. So that's another reason they don't want to have staff there. This is the biggest mistake in the history of this country. I said it on air. I said it to cameras. I'll say it again. And Daniel, if you go to look, there's nobody on record. Nobody. There was not a recorded vote. Pelosi was trying to save her incumbents in their primaries. Kevin McCarthy was trying to save his incumbents in his primaries by telling them that they won't be accountable, they don't have to go to work. And here's the ultimate proof of that they were trying to hide from the vote. I made them come to Congress with Article 1, Section 5, which says you have to have at least half of Congress there to do business. By quoting that, the parliamentarian agreed with me. The Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy conceded the point, and they got everybody's ass to Washington, D.C. Now, it wasn't everybody, but I'm satisfied they had a quorum. At that point, all they had to do was vote. And a vote normally takes 15 minutes. It might have taken a couple hours by coming in 30 at a time. But instead of voting, they did a 4-hour debate with everybody in the room, and then brought everybody in the room to prove there was a quorum, because that's the only way I could force the recorded vote on them, is if they didn't produce a quorum. And they denied a recorded vote. And even though they had the people there, enough people to vote, they wouldn't let the vote happen. Here's how remarkable that is. In the 7.5 years I've been in Congress, I've never been denied a request for a recorded vote, and I've never seen anybody denied a request for a recorded vote. I don't know how far back you'd have to go. It might be decades to find where somebody was denied a request for a recorded vote.
Exactly, because at the end of the day, it wasn't the means, it was the ends. It had nothing to do with logistics, as you just proved in multiple ways. They don't want accountability, and it's a reflection of the broader thing. It's not about the fear of the virus and the death and the science and models. They want the tyranny, as Governor Gavin Newsom let the cat out of the bag. This is our opportunity to remake America. We understand the Democrats. What the hell is the agenda of the Republicans and the president? We don't know. But Thomas, thanks for joining us. I know you got to run. ThomasMassie.com, folks. Put your money where your mouth is. Every Congress is like, I'm going to fix the broken Congress. And then precisely when it comes time to do that, they run away like cowards. One man didn't. You need to remember that. ThomasMassie.com.